Bush's words, a man's decision to invade Iraq in a completely illegitimate and brutal way, instead of Ukraine, became the agenda on social media. The slip of the tongue in the speech of former U.S. President Bush at an event he attended in Dallas yesterday became the agenda of the social media. Bush, who started the invasion of Iraq in 2003, reacted to Russia's attacks on Ukraine in his speech, and when he said Iraq instead of Ukraine in one sentence, there were interesting moments in the hall. In his speech, Bush said, "The result of all this was that there was no balance and control in Russia and one man's decision to invade Iraq completely illegitimately and ruthlessly." He used the phrase,
"to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of of Ukraine."
When he realized his mistake, there was a deep silence in the hall in the face of Bush's Iraq gaffe, who corrected his words with, "I mean Ukraine," with a slight smile, and continued with Bush's Iraq. Anyway, his words caused laughter in the hall. While Bush's video about the invasion of Iraq went viral on social media in a short time, many people emphasized that the subconscious words of Bush, who invaded Iraq, were reflected in his words.
"To launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of Ukraine."
Alright, Shalom. This is Howard 1 by Yasha Allah of the Lions Den Camp. I want to say Kal Halayim La Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai by Hashem Harakah Kodash Ma'amah. Double honor to the elder apostles of GMS and their elders. Shalom to you Akim, Nagwati, my children that believe in sincerity and truth around the four corners of the earth. Let me get a scripture real quick. This is Psalm 64 and 5. It says, "They encourage themselves in an evil matter." All right, and that's what Bush and them have done. They have encouraged themselves in an evil matter. What's that evil matter? That bad thing is the New World Order, the NWO. So they've encouraged themselves in it. You got videos of George Bush Sr. saying, let me see if I can find it real quick. All right, check this out. So they encourage themselves in an evil matter. That's their New World Order.
Generations, a new world order.
Fair use.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
All right, so that goes along with the scripture here, Psalm 64 and 5. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily, all right? So they commune of laying snares privily. Let's get that Psalm 64 and 5. Get my lexicon real quick. Psalm 64 and 5. There you go. Yeah, the word privily. Here you go. I'm gonna get the word privily. It says what? To hide or conceal. That's what they have, what? Their secret societies. All right? To bury. To hide, conceal, secretly laying darkness. Ain't that something? All right, and that's what they're into. Darkness, the secret society, man. All right, trying to bring in a new world order. All right, let me continue. It says, verse 5, they encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily in darkness, man. They say, who shall see them? And everybody see it. All right, if you can, man, there's a movie out there called, all right, there's a movie out there called In Plain Sight. All right, check that joint out. And it tells you the story of September 11th. And it's crazy, brother. Nathaniel just did a lesson on the Patriot Act. All right, and that was really kicked off. The second Patriot Act is what, I think it's September 11th. All right, people say 9/11, 9/11, but if you look it up, that's a pagan terminology. So they kind of put that into people's, vocabulary. But yeah, so this was to initiate the Patriot Act, which would cause everybody in America to be known as terrorists. That's when they pull you over, they get your license now, and they say, I need your license. Other than that, you're suspicious. And they get your license. And suspicion is not a crime. And if you had a reason to get your license, they run your name, they put you on the list of people to check out for terrorism, man, ever since the Patriot Act. All right. And it was a setup so they can get help from all the NATO countries and United Nations countries. And to have more reason to go into the Middle East for what was called WMDs, weapons of mass destruction, that were not there. All right. Chasing after a ghost, going after Saddam Hussein and Bin Laden. When Saddam Hussein, they hung this dude on national TV, man. We saw that joint live on the news. And all because they were switching over to what? The gold standard. They wanted to switch over to the gold standard, which would destroy America's economy. Now, what have you been hearing about Russia and China doing? Switching to the gold standard. All right. So yeah, check this movie out. It's called In Plain Sight. Now, it says what? It was a setup. And you know what they call the Twin Towers when they destroyed that? Let me see if I got anything on. I don't think so. But if you take a $20 bill or a $10 bill and you fold it up in the form of a plane, it'll show you the Twin Towers destroyed. All right, I think it's a $100 bill, a $20 bill, a $10 bill, and a $5 bill. Maybe not the 100, but I think it's a 20, 10, and a 5. All right, and I will show you, but that's not really important. You can do it for yourself, fold it a certain way. But it was all planned. So that's why this frog leaped out of Bush's throat and came out tap dancing and singing, telling the truth of what they really hiding inside, man. Darkness and secrets. All right, and that they're the man of destruction, the wicked. But instead, they want to point at Russia, Putin. Even though Putin is Edomite as well, but over here they represent the adversary, Satan. Okay, in these last days, the great whore, America. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. That's the secret societies. And that goes way back to this right here. Look at this. This is Skull and Bones. And you see, they have the U.S. President George W. Bush. All right, they try to say that's Prescott Bush. Could be, which I believe so, or it could just be George Bush Sr. All right, Skull and Bones. Look at that. So they commune privily in darkness. Skull and Bones. Look at that. Whose skull they got right there? Geronimo. All right, Skadel des Geronimo, the Gadite, who had spiritual powers, man. So they kept his skull on that witchcraft stuff, man. Believing that his skull still has power. So, yeah, anybody want to do a lesson on this? Because, yeah, they still got Geronimo's skull. Check this out. This was the some of the last words of Colin Powell before he passed. All right? In his last few interviews. What the heck is all this? I'm not going to read too much, but right here it says this. I helped to sell the false choice of war once. It's happening again. So now they're pushing the false choice of war again. But he's saying that he pushed the false choice of war, like they made him lie, man. All right. It says, I helped Secretary Powell paint a clear picture that war was the only choice, that when we confront a regime that harbors ambitions for regional domination, hides weapons of mass destruction, basically it wasn't true, all right, so they set him up to lie, and he came out admitting it before his passing, all right, so he came out and said, yeah, they have weapons of mass destruction, and everybody chipped in, and they got the vote to go to war, all right, over in the Middle East, and that's according to prophecy as well. Let me continue with this precept. Just to show you more of what Bush is hiding and why that pressure bust pipes. He came out and said it. All right. Where is it? It says they search out iniquities, so they planned it out. They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep, man, deeply wicked, deeply in darkness, like an abyss. All right. It says what? We are consumed by that which they have thoroughly searched out, man. And that's what we're dealing with right now. This new norm, as they're talking about. It's like a flood. All right, consumed, right? But Yahweh shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly shall they be wounded. Ooh, so America's gonna be wounded. So they shall now this is happening now. That's why you got Bush coming out speaking the way he is. All right, it says here, George W. Bush condemns one man's unjustified invasion of Iraq. He meant Ukraine. So he came out, slipped up, and he said it was unjustified, man. See, this judgment that's coming on these heathens and on 2/3 of our people is going to be justified when the Lord bring that righteous judgment. But what they did was unjustified. They went over there for greed, for oil, for gold, and for order out of chaos, for power. Right? It says what? So shall they make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. You see that? So we're in the time of that prophecy, where they're making their own tongue to fall upon themselves, condemning his own self. It says former President George W. Bush condemns Putin's war in Iraq. George W. Bush accidentally admits brutal invasions of Iraq. Look at that, man. Brutal. See, it's time to pay the piper. All right? Because that's prophecy. What was that? Let me go to Joel chapter 2. Where is it at? Hope I can find it. Joel chapter 2. Here you go. Joel chapter 2. But I will remove far off from you the northern army. Let's see. All right, so, you know, the American army is the North American army, and the Lord removed their army. Most of the America's army is over in the Middle East, what they call the Middle East. Especially since what was called Operation Desert Storm with George Bush Sr., the one that was talking about the New World Order, back in 1990 into 1991. I remember I was little, I was playing a game called Guerrilla Warfare. I think it was on Nintendo, when they was going to war, man. It's like it was the spirit of war at that time. You could just see it on TV, you know? And, yep, so yeah. Joel 2:20, because this is all prophecy. But I will remove far off from you the northern army, and will drive them into a land barren and desolate. What's that? The desert. All right, over there in Kuwait, Saudi Arabia. Okay. Offered to protect their oil fields. They let them over there, and actually they wound up burning the oil fields. So, and look where they've gone. It says what? So most of their army, they got all these bases over here, and that's what they call them, occupiers, right? And over into Iraq and Baghdad. And it says what? With his face toward the east sea, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea, and his stank shall come up. And that's why a lot of them got destroyed over there, a lot of death, and still to come. All right. So what? His face towards the East Sea, which would be like the Caspian Sea, the Black Sea. All right, you can't really. Let me see if you can see it on here. All right, because originally the Caspian and the Black Sea, they used to be connected to this dried up right here. And then you have what? The utmost sea, which would be like the Red Sea. All right. So their hinder point is here, and their face is towards where? Iran. Okay. That's what they're really going after. And if you really look at it, they're going where? This way. So all of this, Russia, Iran, all of this area. All right. So that's what the Lord has America's intentions ultimately for America's destruction, going into perdition. And his hinder part toward the utmost sea, and his stank shall come up, man. So all the military is getting destroyed over there. And his ill savor shall come up, because he have done great things in wickedness. All right. So they were doing a lot of mass killing and murder. That's their ill savor, man. That Bush and them was pushing. Nothing but death and destruction. All right. So this right here. Habakkuk 2. Let me see. Habakkuk 2 and 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak. And he even got Bush speaking. It got him telling on his damn self. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. What's that? World War III. All right. And ultimately, the salvation of Israel. Behold, his soul, which is lifted up in him, lifted up is not upright in him. So, right, it's nothing but darkness. It's wickedness. But the just shall live by faith. See, the ones that are justified and judging correctly. See, Esau is moving unjustly. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine through their business, their demonocracy, he is a proud man. See, they were proud, but now it's time for their judgment. Neither keepeth at home, right? The Lord put that in their spirit to drive far off the northern army, putting bases all over the world, military bases on the border of Russia, kicking off this world war. Now Russia, even Finland, they just joined NATO. Now Russia talking about, well, they did it. They put nuclear deterrence on the borders of Finland now. All right. So they're getting involved in this war, America. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man. Neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desires as hell, and is as death, man. That's him. That's these people. And cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him? And that's what they've done. You know? So, all right, so I'm going to end it here. Habakkuk 2 and 9. Woe to him. All right, so woe to these heathens, these Edomites. You know? Woe unto them. What's that? Prolonged, meaning alas, woe, basically destruction. Finally, man, right? Woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house. That's what they did. All right, covetous, what does that mean? It says here, to finish, to stop, to cut off nations, to break off, gain, they gain what? Riches, wealth, gold, oil, power in the Middle East, you know, through these proxy nations. You had politicians that had personal militias over there. Like, what's his name? Cheney, allegedly. It says what? Gain, to gain by unrighteous violence, man. See, the Lord gonna gain by righteous violence. They gained unjustly. All right? To covet, to be greedy. So they what? They coveted an evil, a bad, all right, unjustly, covetousness to his house. And the Lord's still going to judge them for that. And now these nations are going to rise up, according to Habakkuk chapter 2 and 7. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee? All right, and that word bite thee means to make, to pay up, or to, what's this? It says to oppress, to strike, to give interest, to give interest. So they're gonna make America pay up on that debt, that heavy debt, that clay, thick clay. All right, like China, all these nations that own America's debt, they're gonna make America pay up. You know, and it says what? Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, oppress thee, basically, and awake that shall vex thee? All right, let me see this real quick. What's vex? It says what? To make tremble. And thou shalt be for booties unto them, for the taking, basically. It says spoil, plunder. All right, and they ain't talking about coming here to get riches. They talking about destroying, and also not paying back. You know, it says because thou hast spoiled many nations. See, they went over to the Middle East as well. Not only that, mainly because they touched the apple of the Lord's eye, the children of Israel, the Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. All right, they have spoiled, they have plundered many nations, man, that America has. Not just Esau, but the focus is Babylon, the beginning of the downfall of Edom. All right, because of men's blood and for the violence of the land, see, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. All right, so because of men's blood and for the violence of the land, for America. Woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house. So they take shit around the world about violence in the name of democracy and Christianity. To plunder, to acquire by violence, all right, profit. And that's why you got Bush and them owning Texaco or whatever they own. What is that joint up the street too? I forget the name of the damn gas station. But they own a few gas stations, man. And you know that deals with the petrodollar. So woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high. That's what their goal was. You know, so they could be rich. the super rich, a nest, a dwelling, basically safety on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. All right, so they try to be safe from, from the downfall that's coming, economic collapse and downfall of this place, the United States, which is just a corporation. They know it's going to fall and fold. That's why they're bringing in their new world order, and they all trying to prepare for that. So they're making sure that the rich get richer and the poor get poorer before the ultimate demise of this place. So they're trying to bleed it for its last drop. All right. So yeah, man. That's why I wanted to bring that scripture out, where it says what? It's right here. Psalm 64:8. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All right. All that see them shall flee away. So all these nations going to flee away from America and leave it stranded. All right. The only one probably going to be back in this place is going to be Israel, the land of Israel. But yeah, the tongue is falling upon themselves. That's why they're saying dumb shit like this.
In contrast, Russian elections are rigged. Political opponents are imprisoned or otherwise eliminated from participating in the electoral process.
Same thing in America.
The result is an
Allegedly.
absence of checks and balances in Russia, and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of of Ukraine. Iraq too. Anyway.
Iraq too.
75.
All right, but they laughing, but the Lord said he gonna laugh at them at the end of the day. All right, shalom.